Boy, do dystopian futures suck. Unless you're rich. But unfortunately, since most of us don't fall into that category, if you want to see a tale of class warfare, well then The Hunger Games, The Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes is the movie for you. Dear God, that's a long title. Alright, let's get into it. Hey movie fans, I'm Matt, and today we're discussing The Hunger Games, The Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes, starring Tom Blyth, Rachel Zegler, Viola Davis, Peter Dinklage, and is directed by Francis Lawrence. Someone really needs to come up with a shorter nickname for this film, something like BVS, but I just don't think that HG, TB, OS, and S really has that ring to it. Figure it out, internet. And now you're probably sitting there wondering why I've got this title belt over my shoulder. Well, I thought you'd never ask. Your most beautiful host here was crowned this year's fantasy football champion, and it's not something I take lightly. So every once in a while, this bad boy is going to show up in videos for two reasons. One, to show off, and two, to tell the other players in my league to suck it. I'm the champ.
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's the MVP! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Alright, enough of the fun, let's get back to the movie. This movie here is a prequel set 68 years before the original Hunger Games films that starred Jennifer Lawrence and Josh Hutcherson. Oh no, not again! And it's a story based on the book of the same long-ass name published in May of 2020, authored by Suzanne Collins, who penned the original trilogy as well. Now overall, this series is extraordinarily interesting to me to begin with. Collins' inspiration for The Hunger Games came from Greek mythology, the Roman gladiator games, and reality television. Doesn't sound so far-fetched these days. And if you've never heard of The Hunger Games, they're an annual event within these stories where one boy and one girl, aged 12 to 18, are selected from each of the 12 districts surrounding the capital. And they are selected by a lottery to compete in a televised battle royale to the death. I mean, when you think about it, it's really messed up. And this film certainly makes it a point to remind you how messed up it is. Now, this film follows the rise of President Coriolanus Snow, played originally by Donald Sutherland, and the events leading up to those movies. Director Francis Lawrence returns after helming the second Hunger Games film, Catching Fire, and Mockingjay Part 1 and 2. And just for clarity's sake, the first two Hunger Games films are fantastic. The second two are definitely not. But honestly, he does a wonderful job carving this film's own path into the universe and delivers a prequel that stands strong on its own merits. Tom Blyth shines in his first major role. Playing the young Coriolanus Snow, Blyth has to navigate multiple complex layers to this character, and he does it extremely well. And that's because he's having to balance this high-class persona, this fake-it-till-you-make-it attitude, but it's also coupled with numerous moral dilemmas throughout the film. And he ultimately creates exactly what you want out of making a compelling villain. A guy that believes he's doing the right thing, even though we know he's not. And if you're a person who knows the material, obviously you're not fooled by him. But he's fooling himself in this movie, and that's what makes it great. And on the opposite end is Rachel Zegler as Lucy Greybeard, whose character sharply contrasts Coriolanus Snow. And the dynamic between Zegler and Blyth forms the core element of the film. It showcases their ability to play off each other's differences in upbringing and values. Yes, we can bring up that Zegler has had some hot takes, if you will, about her upcoming Snow White film, but I can't deny that she's very good in this and that she's got one hell of a voice. And lastly, the supporting performances by Peter Dinklage and Viola Davis contribute significantly to the film's strength. I really don't need to say much about them. Okay, I'm gonna say one more thing about Viola Davis in particular. She excels as probably the most evil character of the entire series so far. She is great in this movie. Oh, and Jason Schwartzman. Gosh, I gotta talk about everybody here. He is absolutely perfect casting in this film, playing a young Stanley Tucci. His role is super limited, but you will absolutely not forget him on screen. The film's music is inspired by Appalachian country folk tunes, and it stands out as a fantastic element in this movie. They've got original tracked and reimagined versions of previous songs that not only contribute to the film's atmosphere, but play a crucial role in character development. And the last standout aspect that I have to bring up is the costume design. Costumes in this film maintain the tradition of excellence just like the original Hunger Games films, especially in contrast depicted among the different districts. But with all those positives, the film's biggest drawback is the pace. I know, let me begin my old man yell at the cloud.
Alright.
Now the film clocks in at a healthy 2 hours and 36 minutes. And while the story unfolds in 3 different parts, pacing can be felt. especially when the movie seems to come to a screeching halt. But in defense of the overall weight of the story, there aren't really many scenes that felt unnecessary. I'm just talking about more tightening it up.
I might say tighten.
Tight.
Little.
Depiction of the Hunger Games itself constitutes a smaller portion of the film. While the focus isn't solely on the games, there are some character decisions during this pivotal event that certainly raised an eyebrow. There's a subplot involving Rachel Zegler's character collecting donations for the games, and it builds up, and it's ultimately delayed in its utilization. Narratively, it makes sense why it's there, but the timing of it is just so strange considering what's going on in the games. I don't know, we can just chalk that up to nitpick, I guess. This last point is probably a lot more of a nitpick than the last one, but it just felt that references or Easter eggs to the first film felt a bit shoehorned in there. Now, I don't live knee deep in the lore of these films or the books, but I can just tell you that there are certain references that I just felt that was really lazy. Had me rolling my eyes, but then again, that's just me, the old man yelling at the cloud. Look, I've talked about this film way more than I anticipated, and that's because I actually enjoyed this movie way more than I expected. And it's with that I would give my recommendation for this movie. Whether you've seen the original Hunger Games films or not, I think that there's enough in this movie that makes it worth the watch. As always, I encourage you to watch the films and form your own opinion though. Let me know your thoughts about it down in the comments below and have your voices heard. Also, if you enjoyed this review, please like this video and subscribe to my channel to get a new movie review from me every week. Next time, we hunker down and we bundle up to the film that's making waves across the industry with The Holdovers. All I hear is that the performances are top tier and it could absolutely give Oppenheimer a run for its money with award season upon us. Pretty bold claim to make, so we'll see how that works out. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys at the theaters next week.